Welcome to Tea Talks, where young adult stories and church experience come together into a beautiful blend of insight to inspire us. So grab a cup of tea, sit down, relax while we spill the tea. And today with me, I have my friend Chris. So he's Chris, I am Chris, and I am so excited that he can share with us a little bit of his insight in church life and young adults. So Chris, from talking to you before, I learned that you didn't have really like one church that you went to. You went to several churches until something happened. Why don't you tell us about this experience?
Yeah. So it was really until I got introduced to a health message in the church. It was really prior to that, I didn't know what commitment was. I didn't know what consistency was. I was just hopping around church to church, just trying to find what really filled me up, or how to connect to God. So the health message of the specific church just really spoke to me. You know, my background of being a physical therapist, always wanted to help people and, you know, allow them to get their best, get their best health. It just really spoke to me because even at that time, my health wasn't the best either. I was struggling with different things in my life. So this health message just really just ignited my passion. I'm like, oh wow! And prior to this, I was out of the church for a while because I didn't have that consistency, didn't have commitment. So between the health message and then learning what just being consistent in the Word of God and those types of things, really I just feel like rooted me. And I can happily say I just still have that foundation, and I'm following God's direction every step of the way.
Was it a person that brought you to learn about this message?
Yeah. Actually, it was a good buddy of mine.
Okay.
Still a good friend of mine. And actually, how our relationship started was we partied a lot together. So we started in the world. My dad actually introduced me to Luke. Luke was a physician as well. My dad's a physician assistant. So we started in this place, doing a lot of worldly things and whatnot. But yeah, it's amazing how God works, because through him, he invited me to this mega medical clinic to volunteer as a physical therapist. And as the first time, I was able to pray with patients and just really feel the Spirit of God working through my hands, through my treatments, and everything. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. I need more of this.
Yes, and this is one of the things that throughout this whole series, we're going to be talking about different points that we learned from this book called Growing Young. And one of the things that they talk about it is the power of authentic relationships. So when you shared with me about this person who brought you to church, I understood, hey, that's true. Like when we have like an authentic relationship. So tell us a little bit about how we can make warm communities from authentic relationships.
So in my experience, you know, my wife and I moved to the Charlotte area a few years ago, and I can happily say this is the first time ever in mine or her life that we felt that authentic relationship within our church. You know, my wife at the time was 8 months pregnant, so very close to having our first child, our first son named Noah. But we've never felt the love or embrace so much by church. We literally had people that we didn't even know come into our house after he was delivered to deliver meals to us. So we're getting meals, so we didn't have to worry about that. We could focus on Noah. So just feeling that authentic, that relationship with this church, people in the body, we're just like, wow, this is incredible. This is the love of God. So through that, now my wife and I love to share that with others. You know, her and I recently were challenged to get into a life group, like a Bible study for marriages, for other couples, and the relationships that are coming out of that group, and just how God is working on just getting us closer to these marriages. Because let's face it, there's an epidemic in our country just with divorce and how couples are struggling. So through God's or through our past experiences, God has been just molding us, using us through our pain of past relationships to help other couples. So the relationships that are coming out are just
the power
amazing.
of a warm community, warm relationships, how that can change someone's life from like never committing to anything, but now I want to be part of this. Now, talking about that, what have you observed, like the intersection between the life of the distinctive cultural and societal obstacles to encounter the world of adults, young adults, you know, like that, the difficulty, the struggles that young adults have today. What can you say about that?
Yeah. So this is a big burden of mine, or just a big struggle, because I went through it. I went through it in my teens, 20s, just not committing to either. Back to that word I was saying, commitment. I would be half into the world and then half into the church, and then eventually I fell out of the church, probably from 18 for a good 10 years, 18 to 28. So the intersection of it is so important, and I feel like me, now that I've gotten back on to my walk with Christ in a good body of believers, I've found myself almost getting like complacent in a way, where getting complacent in the church, building these relationships, having that warm community, which is a beautiful thing. But God has recently put in my heart that continue, in just cultivating those relationships, but don't forget about people outside of the church. Because it's easy if we're hanging around body believers too much, it can affect our ability to converse with others outside the church, and we can naturally judge them. So he's really pulling at my heart just to have that strong community, because that's going to keep your foundation strong in Christ as the rock. But don't forget to, at the same time, just keep going out and just go, talk to someone on the street, or just love people. Give people time outside the church. So
you just touched a point that for me is so important. Sometimes we're so focused inwardly that now that we found a good community, we kind of like, it's like, like the very fine line between having a warm community, but also not become cliquey, that we've completely forget the people outside. So I love that you have that in your heart, to always keep the focus on the job that God gave us to do, right? Go make disciples. Well, but I think the very positive side of what I'm hearing, and this actually was the next question I had for you. The next question was, do you feel heard? And I feel like in your church you do. You're giving me a beautiful perspective. But unfortunately, that is not the reality of every young adult. So the young adults that you come across, or maybe the church that you went before, how do you feel like, now I'm not going to ask for your experience, but from other young adults, how do they feel? Do they feel heard? Is this hard to find places that you feel heard? What do you have about that?
I'll answer it for myself first, and then I'll look at like having different conversations with young adults as well. But for myself, since I have the background of plugging into different communities, different churches, different denominations, I've seen different strengths, kind of like in that book, how there's the 6 things. I've seen those play out in different denominations or different churches. However, I've never seen it, all 6 being done in the church, right? So just to answer that question, I feel like at times, since I've been in churches where I felt like my voice was heard, and I felt right away when I came to the church, I could just be myself, just be real with my past and whatnot, and everything. So I feel like the one place I struggle sometimes in my current church is being able to share my story, being able to share those darkness things in my story and whatnot, because it's kind of afraid of feeling judged and maybe being like an outsider. Since I came into the church, unlike my wife, she was born into the church, so she has that, that foundation and everything. So me, that's something I think kind God is molding me. And actually, through your story, it's given me new passion, new hope, just an encouragement, just to share the story more. Because ultimately, I can't assume people are a certain way, that they don't have maybe a secret sin or something in their story that can relate to mine. So yeah, I feel like God's molded me in that area, and I think to go back to from what I've heard from other people, I think that's sometimes a struggle, not being real, not speaking their mind, maybe in a Bible study or within the church, because they feel like they might be judged.
What if I say something, they're going to judge me? What if they find out what I'm doing? And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is to be able to like open up and because a lot of times it's hard for you to come to a church and say, hey, this is everything I did. And hey, I'm not saying go and just spill everything that is happening, because some places are not safe.
Yes.
Correct. But if we start knowing that other people are struggling as much as I am, that's why actually I am the first one to become vulnerable. That's why I'm visiting all of the church, sharing my testimony, because I want to tell them, hey, we need to create an environment that people will feel safe and not judged. So that is the whole intention. I'm so glad that it worked for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I have been to your church too.
Yes.
As a church, what do you think? And now I'm putting myself, I love to put myself in the place of the young adults, because I feel like that's where my mind is, my passion, my mind is. But right now, putting myself in the place of a leader of the church, what we as a church can do better? A
couple of things, but the first thing that comes to mind is, I believe as a church, we need to get out more. We need to focus on the right things. Right now we're going through the book of Acts. So obviously it's a very exciting book, very action-packed book and everything. So, but I feel like as a church, we just need to start taking steps towards that. We need to not focus so much inward, where I think sometimes if you do that, gossip can start and just more negative things, and it's easy to kind of lose the sense of why I'm here, with the purpose of the church, get farther and farther from Christ, right? Or that love of Christ. So I feel like we just need to start taking steps to getting out in the community more. And it can just be small things, such as going downtown and setting up like a little food pantry, pass out sandwiches, homeless or whatever. But just, I know everyone in the church has a gift, has a passion. So I feel like the key is cultivating those gifts or those passions, like taking that and then going out in the community and sharing it. Because even recently, my wife was like, oh, I don't know if we went out in the church or went out in the community, I feel like I'd have a hard time talking with people or not knowing what to say and whatnot. But I think one, the Spirit will take over, give you the right words. But two, if you have a medium for like whatever the person's passionate in, that will bridge you two together, even though you're different, maybe have different beliefs, bridge you together, and then you'll be able to converse and just figure out what words to say. Spirit will give you the words to say.
Yeah, and I'm 300% with you. One of the things that I have learned is that when we have so many problems in the church, why? Because the church is made by humans, right? And we're always going to have problems. But when we focus on doing God's mission, which is go out, right? Go out and make disciples. It's incredible how the problems inside start being solved.
Yes.
It's amazing. Chris, this was wonderful. I loved having this time to talk with you, getting to know you a little more.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining Tea Talks. Keep stirring up the conversation and embrace the beautiful and messiness of life. And until next time.